Good evening, everybody. Some of you, please confirm if you can hear me. My screen is visible. Right. So before we begin, I will want to keep the session open for next 5 minutes. If you have any thing that you may have already tried and you are stuck somewhere, we can take them in next 5 minutes. Yeah, I repeat, if there is any question that you have to discuss about what we have covered, you tried and you're getting error, we can handle them. Please be precise on your question. We can address it. No. ExcelR team, are we good to start?
Yes, Nadeem.
Okay, fine. Okay, welcome back, folks. Today we will continue where we left. So we spoke about creating pivots the other day. For your convenience, I picked up the employees file again so that we both can be in sync as we do the pivot bit. So I'm sure the very similar file is available with all of you. We will try to create some pivots and exactly start from the place where we left. So I'm at the raw sheet currently. We spoke about creating pivot, adding data, how to change the data source again. So I will try to redo the entire stuff again. So for that purpose, I will try to create a copy of this particular sheet. Now, this is something that we have never spoken about. We will redo it again. That how to create a copy of this particular sheet without having to copy paste it. Now, generally, when you copy it, add a sheet, and then paste it, it takes a lot of time. Now, you can avoid all of it with few clicks. All you need to do would be is right click on the sheet you want to create a copy. You can click on move or copy. Now you have list of options. Do you want to create a copy within the same workbook, or you want to create it in a new workbook or any other workbook which is open? So for now there is only one workbook which is open. So if there was anything else, I would have found that name. So for now I will keep that. I will work on the same worksheet. Where do I want to move? So I will say create a copy created at the last. So basically at the end here, I can see that raw data, a copy of it will be created. So I see that raw data 2, one is the primary one, which I already had. So I have created another one. I will rename this. How to rename? You can double click on it and then you can do it. So here I have the data. I have data into two parts. So basically there are 200 rows. I will split them between 100 in each so that this can help us to figure out how to increase the data size. So I will go to the 100 row, delete this. For now, I will create a new sheet and paste the values. Right. I'm deleting this for now so that you can relate to it in detail. So to begin with creating a copy, so the expectation is, let's say that I wanted to understand in each department, this particular file tells that this data belongs to a human resource team or a payroll team, for example. Each row is equal to one employee. I need to know how many departments are there and how many employees are there. So basically count of each employee against the department is equal to number of people who are working in that particular department. Now to create a pivot, foremost thing is to select data. Now, if you don't choose anything and if your arrow is clicked here, by default, it will select the rows which is till 100 only. It will not go beyond that, right? Now, if you want to create it more than that, you will have to do the selection, which is either click on arrow, which is Control A, Control Shift right, or you can use keyboard, which is Control down arrow key, Control Shift right. Any one of them will help, will get you the same result, solution. No other difference in it. I am hiding all of it because these are not relevant. Right, so I have data available here, which tells that there are about 9 columns available. Each one of them have got their own attribute. Like I suggested the other day, that when you create a pivot, please ensure that how do you divide it into 100. So basically, there's a question: how did you divide it to 100? There were total 2 rows, so I divided by 100, telling 100 on the top, let it be as is. The other 100 I've created a copy. That was simple. And the YouTube link, I can paste it. Here's the YouTube link. Okay, coming back to the topic, how to create a pivot. Things that you need to consider: ensure that your column names are not duplicated. There is no empty space between the entire column. It is highly recommended if your data below the sheet is not different. If it is not different, create a pivot selecting the entire column, so that if you paste the data below, it'll refresh by itself. You just need to do a refresh. You don't need to change the location. So let me not do that. I will not select the column. Instead, I leave my cursor in A, and I will go to insert and say, please create me a pivot table. So it has selected only till 100 rows. Like I said, that I did not do selection. That is the reason. So I will say create a new worksheet and then click on OK. So I got the pivot table. Here is the area where I will get the results. This is the place where I can play around, as in what columns to be added, what rows to be added, what values to be added. So like we said, that we wanted to understand that I have a department. I need to know how many departments are there. So to get that, I will first tell that, okay, departments, please come in rows. And here I get to see how many departments are there. There are about 5 departments. I need to know how many times each department exists. So basically, I will take a column which has got a name or an employee code, which can give me count, right? One employee ID is equal to 1 person. So I'm dropping the same value again on rows as values. You see that? By default, it is picked up as count. Why? Because the data what I am supplying to it has both alphanumeric, which has got alphabets as well as numbers. So you cannot add these two, right? S134 plus S142 will not sum up because these has a text. Because it is not having numbers, by default it will pick up and show the count. But if similarly, if I try to add a numbered column which has got number data, by default the value of it will be picked up as sum, right? So I will go back and show you the sum salary column. You see all of it has numbers, so by default the column will show us average. Now if you want a number column to be shown in terms of count, average, max, minimum, product, and a number of options are available, we can do that. So for now, I am not really interested in salary, so I will drag and drop. So we got the answer as in how many people are actually staying in which department. Now this by default is arranged in an ascending order alphabetically on the row side, not on the value side, right? This is the default process of it, that when you put something in row, if it is having numbers, then it will pick up alphabetically, which is the smallest to the top and the largest to the bottom. If it is text, then it will go with A and go until Z. Right, so here it starts with A, then A B, A C, etc., etc. Pivot table. What is the purpose of pivot table? Now, if you had to do this without creating a pivot, you had to do a lot of process. First, you need to identify which are the unique departments. Then you need to create another folder, another column telling count if in this department find accounts. We did this in the past, right? Count if this particular column find accounts, count if this particular column marketing, count if this particular column sales, human resource, etc. Now we can get rid of it all by simply creating a pivot. That's the reason why you prefer a pivot. That's the fastest way to summarize your data. what is the process to open a pivot table? So I think you mean to say is how to create a pivot table. I will repeat it again. How to create a pivot table or to get to these options is you need to select your data first. I mean, I had not selected it, so I will continue to remain on it as is. Go to insert, you have pivot table. It will by default pick up the data based on the active table, right? So this is the active table, and I click on OK. A sheet without having any fields will be created, which would look something like this, right? So you will have your empty pivot table here. Here you need to organize the fields. So these are the fields which are available in the raw data. I will tell that, okay, dear, please tell me the department in terms of rows, right? So I have account a row, administration, human resource, marketing, sales in a row. Now I need to know how many employees exist in each one of them. For that, I will use the employee code column because each employee is equal to one row. So it has counted how many rows exist with the name of accounts, how many rows exist in the name of administration, how many rows exist in the name of human resource. Right, so now this, how are you opening the dialog box of pivot table? Okay, I'll repeat it again. How am I opening the dialog box of pivot table? I am going to insert, click on pivot table. The dialog box comes by itself, right? If you are not able to find it, try using the shortcuts Alt D P as in pivot, Alt Data Pivot. This was the old way of reaching pivot, but now it is a part of insert. You can get it within insert itself, right? So then you get the similar dialog box. All you need to give is next, next. So here I got the count, but now we were talking about how to arrange this in ascending or descending order, right? So for now, when you put any data on the row side, it is auto arranged in an alphabetical order, right? Accounts, administration, H, M, S. If there was Z, it would have come at last. Now, is there a way that you can auto adjust it, right? Now, auto adjust could be like, now first person in the company should be somewhere as human resources. Now, if you want to call this person on the top, all you need to do would be is take your cursor to a box. You see this rectangle box, you can highlight it like here on the top of it. You get this square icon, the arrow pointing icon. Just drag and move it wherever you want to fit it. Yeah, so it will auto arrange it. So by default the system had arranged it in form of text. I will redo the arrangement, which is like right click on this, say sort alphabetically. So this is how it was by default. Now this is not making much sense. Now I'm more interested about which department has most number of people. Now to do that, you need to take help of sort, but not on the name, instead on the count of employees, right? So I want the numbers here to be descending. So if you want to do that, right click here and say sort largest to smallest. Now this one will arrange the numbers from top to the bottom, right? It has got arranged from the top to the bottom. Let me rename this, telling number of employees, and instead of row labels I say department. I got the table looking neat, but how about making this a little more fancy? How can I make it in terms of a chart? Can I convert this table to a chart instead of showing these actual numbers? If you want to do so, go to chart. You have the charts available in the insert option. Tell that, you know what, I want to create a 2D column chart. So I got to see the numbers auto arranged, that the way the pivot is, right? So it has got 24 first, which is human resource. You can see human resource, then marketing, then administration. I don't see the numbers available here. Now, if you want that to be added, all you can do is use this plus option and say, show me data labels. Data labels will come above the bar or within the chart. If you choose data table, you get a table available here at the bottom. either one of them, whichever is convenient and looks fancy to you, you can choose them. Now, these particular options may look good, may not look good. If you want to disable them, just say hide value field buttons on chart. I will say all so that none of them are visible. So now I have auto arranged it. Now this doesn't look good, so I can just double click on this and type text of my choice. Now the colors are not good. You want to change them, just highlight them, go to home and say that fill color should be something of my choice, which could be like a shade of this. Now you want individual colors to be highlighted, just click 2 times, right? So if you click once, by default, the chart will select all of them. You see my screen, it has selected all of them. Now I want only the last guy to be highlighted as red. So all you need to do would be click 2 times, go to home and change the color to anything of your choice, and it will apply only to that particular part. Right? So I have the numbers and the departments available. Right? So this is one way how we learned that you can arrange your data manually in the order, or arrange it automatically, be it ascending or descending, or create a chart. Now this is done. Now I got the list of people where another 100 people are present in the system. So I have the data organized in this way. I'll go back and put it in raw data. So I have about 200 employees. As you can see my screen, there are about 199 employees. First one is the label, so I will have to ignore them. So there are about 199 employees, but my pivot is showing only 99. Now, if I have to update it, you cannot do a refresh. Why? Because the range that you have selected does not have all the column. To do that, you will have to change the data. How do you change the data? You will have to go to pivot table analyze. You have change data source. Click on it. It will take you to the sheet where actual data exists. So now you can see that it has selected till row 100. You can see it here, but I want it to be available till the last. So I will do is I can either click here and control shift right so that it selects all of them. Click OK. Now I see that the data is picked up for all of them. There is one extra column called blank. It picked up because I selected the entire column. So how do I check whether I have selected entire or not? All you need to do would be is go back to the same process, which is pivot table analyze, change data source, select data source. So for now it is selecting complete columns from A till I. There is no restriction on row. If you don't want that blank, then you need to specify till which last row you want the data. But then again, the problem is next time you paste the data, again, you will have to come back and rearrange the data. So that's a little less recommended process, because it is more better that you simply right click here and refresh than selecting the entire data all over again. So that's simple how creating a pivot table is. Now there are a list of things that we can do, right? So for example, what could be like if there are sales people, 41 by 199 is how much? 40 of 199 is how much? Basically, in terms of percentage, what percentage of population does sales contribute in an organization? Right. So I'm talking about dividing these 41 members in the entire organization. Then accounts 40 divided within this organization. Similarly, 40 divided within this organization. All I'm talking about is dividing each number with the total. There are a lot of benefits of it. So we'll talk about it in a few. Let's first talk about what is the purpose of having column. So we did not speak about column the other day. So I know that there is sales, but can you give me a breakup of north, east, west, south, and the number of people here, right? So all I'm telling is give me columns of region. Do I have such data? Yes, I have region. Let us go back and see in the raw. So I'm telling you have department. Now your departments will come in the left. Here you will have to tell me north, east, west, south, and then each count of it should be visible. Now, how do I arrange it? All I need to do would be is go to region and drop it here, right? So I get the information available here. My chart got auto arranged, telling north, east, west, south. The colors are being auto arranged. So for now, I will hide the blanks because it is creating a concern here. I will hide all of them. It shows that in sales, which place has got highest number of people. So sales, north has got highest number of people. Similarly, accounts, which is the place which has got highest number of people. If you are concerned with color, you can just highlight it. You can see the dialogue reading here. It's series west point accounts. So west has the highest number of people. The value is 11. Now here administration, which is the place which has got highest, here it shows that it is north again. Now human resources, which is the place which has got highest number of, it tells east. The number of people are 13. Now if you don't want the numbers to be available, like we discussed a while ago, all you can do is convert this to a table than data labels. Now here you get to see that east how many, north how many. By looking at these numbers also you can conclude what you are trying to say. So if this is already denoting what the color means, we don't want this. If you want to disable it, just click on it and press delete button on your keyboard. The chart looks much auto adjusted. I mean, it is not consuming unnecessary space. The rest of the places it is blank. Basically it means there are no people available there. So that's a good way of how to summarize your data. And the other option was making use of the columns to split your data between stuff. Right? So please repeat again north, south. Yeah, I can do that again. Let's go back. I will do a control Z, control Z, control Z, so that we go back to the place where we started from. Right, so here is how my chart was looking. I had the departments. I'm removing this blank. So how do I get rid of this blank? There are two ways. One, you can click here and choose blank manually, or you can just highlight and say control minus. It will go away. So I have the departments which are 6 in number and their numbers, but I don't know in sales there is another column called region. Now I want that to be split. So if there is sales, 41 is divided between how many regions? And that's a good question to ask. For that, I need to get that column, I mean, that particular label or data into columns. For that, I will reuse this region bit, bring it to the column. This is how it got arranged, right? Sales has 4 regions. Which one is top, which one is smallest is available here. Now, instead of showing these numbers, we took a help of data table than labels, right? So I can remove labels and add data table. So this is how we got to know east is this, the count is 10. Sales, north and sales, the count is 12. South and sales, the count is 10. West and sales, the count is 9. So that's how it worked. Right. So now what is the benefit of having filters, right? So this thing we did not discuss. Now let's go one step back, and why don't we try to module this data itself? Whatever I get to see on the screen, I don't want the regions available here. Instead, I want it to be flexible that I can choose anything of my choice. So I will move the region bit to filters instead of having it on columns. You can't have the same column in 2 places. And I will get the liberty to choose either of them. I know we discussed this the other day. I'm repeating it. So I can choose show me only east, right? So I get to see data of only east. Now I want to show it for north. I get to see data only for north, right? So we can make this a little more interactive. We have a beautiful feature within pivot called, so I will hide this so that people don't really have to refer to it. I will tell the system that, you know what, why don't you show me the region as a slicer, right? Slices look more beautiful and user friendly, right? So I will arrange this. You don't have to click on the drop down. Instead, you will have to click from here. So for now, everything is selected. I want to show only east. Just click on east. You get to see data only of east. You want to show north, you can click on north, you get to see north, you get to see south, whatever you want to. Or if you want to do multiple selection, all you need to do would be is control click, so that two regions can be shown to you. So it's a summation of south and west. All you need to do would be is, while you prepare this, if you are updating it again, just take care of refreshing your pivot. The pivot is available on the background. If you want to refresh it without actually moving the chart, just go back to your pivot analyze. You have a refresh button here. Just click on it. It will go back and recheck the data from here and read it to you. And just observe my screen. I am deleting the entire stuff from here, right? There is no data in the raw sheet. The data is coming from here. But if I observe this, it will still pick up those numbers. Why? Because it has kept the memory loaded. So whenever you create a pivot, whatever your raw data is, your pivot will have a copy of it until you refresh it. It will not erase it from its memory. It will keep it saying, yeah, I know I have picked up some data. It will retain the same information in cache until you refresh it. In reality, my raw data does not have anything. If I do a control refresh to my pivot, all of this will be gone. I will not do it for now. I will leave the sheet as is, so that we can continue with the work. Right, so this wonderful option of slicer is very helpful. I mean, makes your data more readable, more interactive, that the other person can communicate with the data efficiently and get to the numbers. Right, so any questions for me till here? I'll be happy. When we apply a pivot table, did it show the data in the same sheet, or we have to go for other sheet and apply the pivot table? Okay, there's a question here. When we apply a pivot table, should we remain in the same sheet or should we go for it? Now, most commonly, we create a pivot from a sheet where there is data, right? So for example, if I click an empty sheet and I want to insert a pivot in this, it's asking me, give me a table or a range. So now I will navigate to my original sheet and I will tell, okay, bring the data from here. Right, so now this will create a pivot in my actual table, count region. But in reality, there is no raw table here. Right, what happened was it navigated to old table. So it depends on how you want to work, but most people prefer to create a pivot within the same sheet, not outside of it. If you want to send only the pivot to somebody, that's the one how that's the time when you want to do this. How do I create a pivot? It's alt as a short from a shortcut. Press alt DP. That's alt data pivot as in P. You should be able to get the pivot dialog box. Right, alt data pivot. Screen is not visible. I doubt, my friend. It's visible to everybody. Folks, can you please confirm if my screen is visible? I mean, rechecking. Right. There is a question in day-to-day life. Is pivot table? What is pivot table used for? Pivot table is used to summarize data, my friend. Right. So, I mean, we had a very good example here. There are 200 rows. Nobody can read any information from this, right? So you cannot tell which department has how many. For that, you need to summarize it, right? So you need to tell which part is, I mean, which department has got how much, which department is having how much of salary, etc., etc. For that, you create a pivot table. So in a day-to-day life, you will have to use pivot table every now and then. But for that, you need to organize your raw data first, for which we have learned a lot of functions already, how to create and execute these functions. So post knowing what is a slicer, what is the use of it, let's try to go back to pivot only and get some more information about playing with numbers. I mean, how do I show that? What is this data divided in terms of percentages? Right, so I know 48, I know 11. Now I have a budget that, accounting as an organization should not exceed more than 25%, right? Marketing as an organization invest should not exceed more than 25%. So basically here I need to know data in terms of percentage, which is basically 11 by 48, 10 by 48, 9 by 48. Now there is no such column which can give you this data in terms of percentages. Now before we proceed, there is a question, how do I add slicer? So I will redo it again. So I will hide all of it. Now there is a pivot behind this chart. I'm using my navigation keys to go to the pivot. I have reached the pivot. I can see the fields available here. If you want to add a slicer, all you need to do is go to that column, right click, add a slicer, right? The four things we already spoke. What is a filter? What is a column? What is a value? What is a row? Right? That's what, when you right click, you get to see in the first four. The last one is add as a slicer. Add as a timeline will work for a date. I will show it to you in a while, or if you have the same file available, you can run through. Then you create the slices. So by default, it has got west selected because in background it has west. I can do the selection from here by choosing either of the region or multiple region or all of them, right? So that's how it works. So you just click on this cross, it will by default go back to all selection. Fair? Right, so let me go back to the problem situation. I was telling that, it would have been better if you had shown me a line which will show that, out of 100, what percentage of each team contributes to, right? So out of 100% of population in an organization, what percentage falls where? Yeah, definitely yes. You can add anything. So there's a question here, like we have added region, can I add departments? Let me quickly interchange this for you. So I will remove department from here and move region to bottom. I will delete the slicer. I just highlighted it, which is by clicking it. I will click on the pivot, go to department this time, add it as a slicer. So I got the same information, but this time slightly different. So you have the zones or the regions available in the bottom, which is your x-axis, and you have your department available here. So you want to know accounts, click on it, you get to see accounts available in each zone is arranged how. Administration, how. Now this is alphabetically arranged. Why? Because you removed the primary column. That's the reason why you get to see the numbers arranged in ABCD, right? So if you want the topper to come on the first, then you will have to click here and then sort again as descending. Then what will happen? The tallest guy or the biggest number will come to the left. Right, so this sounds to be interesting. Let us try to add another column, but this time you will have to give a little more of attention to it. How to calculate percentage? Yes, if you don't want a graph, slicers will work. Yes, it will work. Why not? So there's a question, will slicers work if there is no graph? Yes, it will work. So I will delete it. I will click on it. You see that the pivot updates. That's the reason why the chart was also updating. So slicers and graph has no connectivity. Even if there is no graph, slices will still work. Like I said, instead of reading this boring table, it was recommended that you convert it to a chart. That's the reason why we created it. But on the whole, it will work. Right, so now I'm adding a chart back again. This time it's like I'm creating the entire process again. So I will hide all field buttons. I will add the data labels. Now, let's say that, so I'm interested in figuring it out, which department contributes what percentage of employees, right? How to copy paste graph in Word file. That's a good question. Just say copy and paste. For now, it is in this state. So you can just Control C and paste wherever you want to. It depends how you want to paste. You want to paste it as text or you want to leave the formatting as is. So I'm doing it for you. I have copied it. I will open Word. I will paste. That's Control V. I got the data. This time it is reflecting like this. If I want to paste it as a text or an image, you see that as in when I do changes here, it changes here, right? I am selecting marketing. I get to see the marketing data. If you don't want that to happen, then you need to paste it as chart. So I will copy again, right click, copy, right click, paste special as what? I want to paste it as picture. Now this is a picture. You cannot do anything with it, no matter what changes I do. I think customer support was the smallest department. You have one count, but this will not change. So that's the way how you need to paste it to a word. If you want it to remain dynamic, that you do any changes here and it should update there, then you need to directly paste it. Okay. Anyways, that wasn't the part of agenda, but let's go one by one. So I will remove the selection and go back to the problem statement. That is, I have some numbers, but I am keen to know the same numbers in terms of percentage. What I'm trying to tell, I have numbers now. Can you tell me the contribution of East against total, which is 51 by 199, then 52 by 199, 48 by 199, 48 by 199. Now, if I have to do that, I will have to tell. So you can see the pivot field list here. You can click on that, or you can right click on the table and say show field list. You will get it. And this time I am telling, instead of count, show me contribution of each, which is 51 by 199, 52 by 199, 48 by 199, so on so on. So to do that, I will have to repeat the column again to values. Now, since it is a alphanumeric data, it comes by default as numbers. Now, I don't want it in terms of numbers. I want the value of it in terms of percentage of column total, right? I don't want row total. If I do so, it is like 51 by 51. I don't want that. I am telling, give me percentage of the column total. To do that, you will have to do a little advanced option. Come to the field which you have just dropped, right click on it and tell that, you know what, just click on it. Click on value field settings. Not this part. This will remain as count. And if it is a number, it will remain as sum. No changes required. By default, it will be as is. We will go to show value as. You have list of options. By default, it will be no calculation. So let's talk about grand total, column total, row total. Now, since we don't have multiple options here, so we can use the grand total option and click OK. By default, the number option would be percentage. Now, if I click OK, you can see the percentage available here. Now, that particular guy is not available. Why? Because percentage is like 1. So I need to change the axis to secondary so that I can see how it looks. So I will go back to change chart type. Count of employee, I want to see as a line, but secondary axis, right? This looks much better. I will click on OK. So I get to see a line. Now these numbers are a little confusing. So instead of having this as a data label, let us have it as a data table. I will not require this anymore. So I will delete this so that the chart can use the complete space. This name is not suitable. So I will say contribution percentage, right? So which is the department which has got highest contribution and above the budget is like North, which has got about 26%. So I am telling that each region should have 25% of employment, right? So I get to see that East is nearly there, North is exceeding it, South does not meet, West does not meet. Right? So this is how I can summarize both in terms of actual numbers and in terms of percentages. How to submit attendance? Yeah, somebody will post a link to you. Just wait for some time, dear. There's a question: how to submit attendance? Please address it. Right. So the peak is 26.5, so that's why it has picked up the nearest value after 26, and here it goes. Now, this is all fine. What about the other options which are available? Like there is something called as percentage of row total, percentage of column total, percentage of grand total, right? Now, there is a reason why all of these exist. For us to know a little more in detail, we'll have to go back one step and try to recalculate them again. What we will do is we will remove the count column. I will move the chart below. I just press the arrow key. I will remove the count of column, the count column, and actually put the region into columns. Department into columns and region to the bottom. Right, so now what happened is if east has some number, then that is dividing against the total. If north has some number, it is dividing against the total. So that is what we called as percentage of grand total. That is what we applied. That was applicable if the value was single, right? Here I can show you both the option. What is percentage of column total? What is percentage of row total? If I choose column total, this will show in east accounts, how are they divided. So basically the last guy will become 100% and each one of them will show the percentage of each. So here it tells that 22% of accounts department is contributed by east, 25% by north, 25% by south, and 27% by west. Let us revalidate this with our raw data because our actual numbers are not visible here. To do that, I will say control page down, which is going to the other sheet. Let us filter data. How do we apply filter? Go to home. You have apply filter. Control Shift L is the shortcut. That's the fastest way to apply filters. So for now, I want region, which is east. I think that's the first one which is available here. And it tells that there are, my screen is not visible because of this dialog. Just give me 1 minute. I will rearrange this. Here we go. Right, so there are 51 employees. I need to know only for accounts. I think that's the first department we picked up. Yeah. So accounts in total has got about 40 employees. So that's our denominator. Now I need to know the count of each one of them. So for now, I need to know east has how many. So I'll go back, filter out east. I got the answer that it is 9. Okay. Similarly for north, let me filter north. You can observe the activity screen, bottom left already shows you the count. You don't have to really do a separate count again. So I will go back, change the region to south. It also has 10. So I will type 10 here. Now I'll go back to the last one, which is west. So it has got 11 people. So I will type 11. Now let's try to calculate the percentage, which is 9 by 41. The row is not going to change. The row is going to remain 13. That's why the dollar is at the 13. B can become C, not relevant. For now, row is important. So I put the dollar there. I will do a control enter, or you can do a control down, either ways, whichever is convenient to you. And convert it to percentage. Control Shift 5 is what I pressed it. Now, if you observe the numbers here and here, both are same. This is rounded off. That's why it is showing like it. I will reformat it for you and change the percentage to 2 decimals, just like the pivot. You observe the numbers, both are exactly same. It's the same activity which it did in just few clicks. Then doing a process of counting each department separately, then dividing it by total. This is a very useful way that what happens when that you can calculate it. Now, since my chart was linked to the pivot, it must have been running by now, calculating all the changes. So let me rearrange this. Yeah, you get to see the percentages all auto arranged so far. Right, so now let's conclude with what does percentage of column means, right? What does percentage of row means? Now let's talk about, we spoke about percentage of column total. We spoke about percentage of grand total. Now let's talk about percentage of row total, right? So now when I say percentage of row total, I'm telling is this will have a number in the last. So I will quickly change this to the actual numbers. To do so, I will click on the values button here, remove the show value as no calculation. All of it was grayed out. So I click OK. So here it has the actual numbers that, you know what, East has 51 people. Now, can you give me a split of department wise for each zone? Basically, can you tell me what percentage of East does accounts contribute to? What percentage of administration on East contributes to? Basically, I'm trying to tell us percentage of row total. Right? This time we're talking only about East, right? So find East divided with accounts. Find total of East divided with administration. Find total of East divided with human resource. To do that, I will click on value field settings, go to show value as, and tell give me percentage of row column. Here you can see that the total column will become 100% and the bottom column will show the actual percentage. Either of the cases, it will show total is 100%. So you can get rid of this because this is not making any sense. That is by going to the other option. Right, so I will just read out some questions that we have. Yeah, you can add the total column to your created table. Somebody is asking, can you turn on the video? It's already on, dear. Whoever is asking how to find percentage is an incomplete question. Why dollar is being kept to, okay, so there is a question, why was this dollar kept? We spoke about this. Let us do it again. I will not have the percentages. I mean, I'll not have the dollar. Just observe what happens. So 9 by 40, enter. Okay, I will copy and paste. See what happened. The 40 which was kept here shifts to 9. The 9 which was kept here shifts to 10. The 10 which was kept to here moves to 10. Right. So if you don't want that to happen, that's why we tell the 40 as a base remains as is. That's why the dollar goes on 13. For everybody, the row, the denominator remains 40. That's why the dollar here. How to add total count to our chart? Which total you are referring to, dear? Can you please be specific? There's a question, can you tell how to add total count to the chart? Right, so I will start from the beginning. I'll simply remove this. And I want to know is just show me the count of employees, right? So there is department in the row, sorry, department in the column and region in the row, right? So you have region in row, department in the column. Each employee code is equal to 1 employee. So I'll just drag it to the value. You get to see the grand total. That's all by default. I have an option to enable disable it. Let's just go to design and say that you show grand totals, do not show grand totals, whichever way you want. You want only the column, you want only the row, or both, or you don't want. You get to see the count. Now let's get back and try to tell ourselves that, can you please summarize that in East, what percentage is the contribution? If you want to do so, I'll have to click on it. By default, it will remain as is. Go to show calculation and say, give me percentage of row and click on OK. You get to see the bifurcation of each zone. So if I sum this up, one particular low will be equal to 100. Similarly for all the departments. I have not shown the grand total in purpose. It's not relevant in this stage, right? Now, if you don't want it to be available in department wise, all you can do is just drag and drop. Right? So the actual values will be shown in rows, right? If I add some more, so for example, this is the contribution percentage, right? So I have the contribution percentage. Right below to this, I want count of employees. How many people are there, right? So my data is this time not arranged in a row format. Instead, it is arranged in a column format, right? So there is one small thing that you need to know here is that I will drag and drop the values again, but this time as count of employees. Right, so let me rename this as number of employees. Captions on. Right. So now what has happened is the values are part of column. That's why you get to see that contribution, number of employees, contribution, number of employees. If there is single value column, it will by default show in row format. Single value column, no row data. Then by default, it will show in rows. But if you want this data to look like contribution percentage and number of employees, then you will have to manually drag this value. In reality, it is not there. It is virtually created column. You will have to move this to rows. Now you get to see your data. This thing is opening again and again. Right, so I will have to drag and drop this data to rows. Now you get to see the real information about your data. That 20% and 40 people, my chart would have got updated by itself accordingly. So that's how your data works. Right, the chart doesn't look good. Why? Because you have arranged everything in column. That's why it's looking like this. If you drag and drop department to rows and move values to columns, you will get a decent chart where the percentages will show in form of line and whatever you want to arrange it. Right. So let's try to make a little more complex this time without having charts. Let us say that I want to know what is the biggest salary of accounts, biggest salary of administration, biggest salary of HR, marketing, sales, and customer support. Now, to do that, I will first have to find a column which has got numbers. So salary is the column which has got numbers. So I'll go to my sheet and bring the salary to values because my values are already in row format. So whatever I'm going to add is only going to come in the bottom. So I will either right click and tell go and add values, or you can drag and drop. After a certain point, you cannot really do that you need to go at last. It's difficult, but if you right click and add to values, by default it will go to last. So here it is picking up sum of salary, that is the total salary what you have, but I don't really want it to be available like this. Maybe I will want it to be shown like, okay, can you show me the biggest number, the maximum value, right? Max of salary. I'll click OK. It picks up and shows which is the biggest number. Now I want salary, but this time minimum, the smallest number. So I will have to go back to value field settings and say, please show me minimum of salary. I get to see minimum of salary. Now, can you add it again and tell me average of it? Now, that also is going to be helpful. So I will go back to the same field, value field settings, change this to average and click OK. So I have some sensible information that, I have 40 people. The biggest salary is 98,000. The smallest salary is 32,000. The average salary is 66,000. Okay, which is fine. Can you tell me from the monthly budget, what percentage of salary does each department contribute? How do I calculate? Not that difficult. All you need to do is bring the same salary to values again. This time, because you want the totals percentage divided in each of them, you will tell that instead of showing sum of salary, show me percentage of row total. The summarized value column will remain as is, no changes in it. It will remain in sum, which your value as will be percentage of row total. I click on OK. So I get to see that who is contributing how much. This is purely a table. Like if you want to add this into a chart, this will be like too many columns. It doesn't make sense. This is much helpful if you want to read the information within this. If your chart is having more than 3 lines, then it becomes more complex for somebody to read. And so as much as possible, try to restrict your elements to 2 to 3, not more than that. If you want to show 4 things in one, then you can use a stacked column where it can add attributes to one column, but 4 fields. Right. So this gives a clear explanation of how things are being divided. Right. So I have the biggest contributor, which is sales, having 22% of the total budget assigned to this particular organization. So very similarly, you can add a little more of information to it. And let's say that I want to add the region as a slicer. I can simply do that by adding a slicer, and please show me only for East. I will say, okay, please show me only for East. My pivot is updated and showing data only for East. Show me only for North, shows only for North, shows only for South, West, etc. And since there are 2 slices, I can make use of either of the combination. So show accounts and West, show administration with accounts, whatever you want to. I mean, up to you how you want to compare it. So I will delete all of it so that selects all of them. I will delete all of it so that selects all of them. Right? Interesting feature. More helpful if you have some real data available with you. Try accessing it. If the information is already available with you, great. I'll pause here for a minute or so. If you have questions, please voice out. Anything that you want me to repeat, I'd be happy to do so. How to add total count to our chart? Acha, so there's a question that, you know what, there is a total chart. I will create the chart, and if you want to see a total, how to add it to the chart? It is not possible until you create a supporting column. Right? Until you create a supporting column, you cannot create it by default. And so here you go, region. You have total. You're talking about you want to see this total on your table. You cannot add it with the help of pivot. You need to create a supporting column for it. There is no other way how you can add. I think that's the question, if I have understood it correct. Pivot does not support grand totals. It just doesn't show up. And anybody else having questions? How to filter? Swapnil, is a question how to filter from the pivot? How to filter values? No, you can't filter values. You mean to say you want to move the values to filter? Is that the question? You can't do that. No, you can't do filter to values. Whatever your attribute columns are there, only those can be filtered. Is slicer and pivot not same? No. So pivot fields are different. These are you can say that existing from the day pivot was created. Slices were added later, where a person who is not aware of pivot, how to click on this drop down and choose stuff, can still use it by interacting. This makes your data more interactable. That's all. But it is part of pivot only. Without pivot, you cannot get slices alone. Okay, there's a question here. Can you repeat the donut chart again? Okay, we'll create a donut chart. Let's say I will make a copy of this pivot itself and try to create a donut for you. I will remove all the values and keep only count. And with the available data, let's try to create a dough this time. So I'll go to insert, click on this and create a dough. That's how we got a dough. I know I need to do a lot of adjustments to it. Right, so your dough is created. You can rearrange it, add values to it, whatever. That's about it. Now, if you want numbers to be visible, make use of this plus symbol and say show data labels. You get to see it. And if it is contributing too much of space, say data callout, you get to see it little differently. But if you want to customize it, click on more options, choose whatever you want to do. You don't want category name and only the percentage, or you don't want percentage but only the value. Whatever way you are convenient, you can do that. I will hide all of this, hide all value fields button. So before we prepare any chart, first thing to remember is you need to summarize your data in some form. Either you directly refer to a data and use functions to summarize it, or create a pivot and then summarize it. It's absolutely up to you. Give me a minute. Okay, how to add a slicer? Just 1 minute. Somebody's asked it to repeat it again. I will do it. To add a slicer, first is show field list. You can either right click here and show field list. For now, it's already visible. That's why that hide field list is there. Click here. You got the fields. Now I need some slicer to be created here. So let's say the region should be in a form of slicer. So region is here. Right click, add as a slicer. You get to see it. Right. So if there is a column which has got a date field, you want to add that as a scroller where you can choose a date, then you can add as a timeline. But then for that you need to have some rich data, right? So you can auto adjust it. It will show the data of whatever region timeline that you have selected. This works only with the help of numbers, nothing else. Beyond that, it will not work. Right, so that's what adding slicer to a timeline works. Like I said, this works only if your data is in date format, not even in number, in date format. So that's about slicer. We spoke about how to calculate it as a percentage of row, percentage of column, percentage of grand total, etc., etc. I will now want to shift and rearrange my data. I mean, rearrange my session. Coming back one step from pivot tables to sorting, I see that there is a gap. How to filter data is a question. Right, so there is a database of about 200 numbers. I can see that it is just randomly arranged. Right, it's just randomly arranged. Now I need to make use of it and try to get more information about it. I mean, get to organize this sheet in a neat way. How do I do it? How do I make use of this and ensure, I mean, how to create a pivot table and range? How to create pivot table and range? Um, how to create a pivot table? I will definitely repeat it, but we did it a while ago. So first is select your data, go to insert, and create a pivot table. Your job is done. Your pivot is already ready, and now you have the ranges already by default, your labels. Now you just need to drag and drop. Drag and drop the data in the respective column, you get to see the option. Range bit, I'm little not sure what exactly do you mean by range. Range is any data which comes like this. This is a range, right? This is kind of range. But what in your sense, what exactly is range? I need little more help there. Okay, so I'll go back to the raw file and tell that, you know what, there is data, but I don't know how this is being arranged. Does the first person having the highest salary comes on the top or the least person on the top? I don't know. I don't see that the regions are aligned in an order, etc. etc. Can we select two data at the same time in slicer? Hmm. Can you be more specific, Namera? Shortcut to select whole table is Control A. That's the question, as in how do I select the entire table? Control A is the shortcut. If you want to select the complete range, then Control A two times. It will select the complete range. Now, I am still stuck with the question. Can we select two data at the same time in a slicer? Yes, I think what you actually mean was, uh, so I have a slicer available on the top. Can I select two data points? I hope that is the question. Is it possible? Yes, you can. So I have selected west. The table is arranged. Now I need to select east also. If you want to do so, all you need to do is hold control on your keyboard, click. So it has selected two data points. Now if you want to select one more, hold control and click. It will select three data points. If you want to select one more, click hold. Hold the control key on your keyboard and then click. That's how you can select more than one data point here. I hope that's the question. Region and department at the same time. Then you need to have the pointer two times, right? So your question is like, you want to select this also and this also, right? First you need to select east and then accounts. Now that is possible, but clicking both of them together is not going to happen. Got it. Great. Okay. Right. So we are talking about arranging data in a particular order. Now, how do I arrange this data in an order? So let's say that, can you tell me the youngest employee of this organization? I know it is available here somewhere. I need to find the smallest number, right? I need to find the smallest number. How do I do it, right? So we can use the filter option. You have option to do custom sort, where you can add more than one field and then sort, etc. etc. We will try doing some bit of logic here. Let's say I want to figure out who is the youngest employee in this entire organization. So if the dates are duplicate, it will auto arrange the data and show one person on the top. To do so, you need to use the option, go to home and say custom sort. You can apply filter directly, but if you use custom sort, you get this dialog box. It will pick up the columns and ensure that you have this thing selected. My data has headers. If not, the first row will also be sorted. So I'm telling tell me the person who has started at the earliest, which is oldest to the newest. Newest to oldest means anybody who's joined recently to the last person. Oldest means the first person who joined. If I click on OK, it will arrange the data. The first person who joined was Melissa James, belonging to accounts. This happened on the 17th of June, 89. Now, what has it done? It has arranged my data in the ascending order, where the smallest number is on the top, the largest number is in the bottom. So I will do a control down arrow key to go to the last row and figure out. You see that the last person joined is in 2005. The first person joined is in 89. So it's a fictional data, so not necessarily you need to relate to it exactly, right? Now, this is helpful if at all I need to find a person within accounts. Okay, fine. It's good, but can you try to arrange people in terms of accounts in one go? Then the next department, then the next department. Now, if you want to do so, I will have to rearrange the sort. Uh, I'll go to home, go to sort and filter, custom sort. This time, instead of having sort date, I will tell do one thing, arrange it based on department A to Z. So first department will come on the top, all the employees belonging to that department. Next alphabet, all the employees belonging to that department, and so on and so forth. So I will have to simply click OK. This is done a sort. Now you get to see all accounts in single row, right? Single row order, all of them. Now below this, you will not have anybody belonging to account. So I will simply create another row here and try to find accounts. Like it is not there. Why? Because all of the accounts have gone to top. Similarly, all other departments work, right? So the system has arranged the data in the alphabetical order. How can we arrange back once who was in before our edit? Now you need to only do a control Z. There is no other option. Which part do you want me to repeat, Zuhair? How can we arrange back in the format we had before edit? Well, you need to do a back to get it back. There is no other way to do it. If your column by default had a row number, then you can do a sort on that column. That's the way you can do it. So here your question is not addressed, I believe. Can you please be specific which part you want me to repeat? Okay, while Zohair comes back, Durga, I believe the only way to get back to your data would be is do a control Z, or if your data has a row column by default, row number column, you can make use of it to get back to the original stage. There is no other option, right? How to be in A to Z column in department. Okay, so we will talk about how to arrange the data in the ascending order. So I will go back to the original source, the way the data is. I just did a control Z on my keyboard till the time it got rearranged to its order. Now I want accounts to be arranged together. I want the next department to be arranged together, so on. If you want to do so, you need to first do is selection. How do you do selection is, I will try to use on-screen keyboard because selection is the most complex part. Time and again, we will have to do it. Without doing selection, you cannot uh, create any kind of functions as such. So I will use an arrow key. Let's assume my arrow is in A1 now. If I have to select all the columns, I will use control space. This is selected column A. Now I will say control shift right. Right, it has selected all the columns from A till I. Nothing empty is left over. If I have to sort it, one option I have already shown to you. You go to sort, filter, click on custom sort. I rather recommend is try doing T. Yes, you can see the comment showing on the top. It says Office Access Key Alt TS. That's Alt Data Sort. I get to see the same dialog box what I got a while ago. Yeah, there's a comment. Just a minute. Okay, right. So I have the date arranged because previously we wanted to check who is the person who is the oldest, right? So it picked up the cell value of start date, oldest to newest. This time I'm telling, can you arrange department column in an alphabetical order, right? So which is going to be like accounts will come on top, continuously accounts, and then the next department, and then the next coming departments. All I need to do is control S. You see that accounts is arranged, then the next department, then the next department. Now, this does not have further sort. Now, let me put a real-time case study. Let's say that I want one person from each department who is the oldest to that particular region, right? One person in accounts who is oldest, right? So if at all I have to talk about it in specific, I will have to say, let's say accounts. I want one person in east. I will have to manually take my cursor here, click here, and find the smallest, because by default this is arranged in an ascending or descending order. The bigger number here, the smallest number here. So if I click on it, I get to see that the newest or the oldest person is this. Similarly, I need to change the range and say that, you know what, I need one more person, but in a different region. That means I need to arrange my data in two columns. First is accounts, then all east together, then accounts again, but all north together, then accounts again, all south together, and then west together. That means this requires more than one sort condition. Can we sort department and region at the same time? Yeah, I'm addressing the same question, Harsh. Thanks. Right. So we are talking about, I mean, let's try to relate to a case study that in real time, I need one person from each region. We'll try to add some functions today, and along with the custom sort, we'll try to make use of it. I want one person of accounts in East to be nominated, or you can say that we want to award them for being the oldest employee, and one person in North to be the oldest employee, so on and so forth. So how do we do it? All I need to do would be is do a sort, but this time I will have to add sort into multiple conditions. So I'm opening the dialog box to get the sort window. Alt data sort. So I got the dialog box. Now it is already considered department A to Z. All I need is I need one more level. So to do that, click on add level. So first it will arrange department A to Z. Then it will arrange based on region. So region will go from east to south. So I will click OK. If you observe my screen, it has got accounts, and then you get to see east, north, south, and west. That is alphabetically. Once west is completed, then you get the next department. Again, it will follow the same process: east, north, west, south. Now this is there, but what do we do now? I need only one person. So for example, this person is the youngest. I don't know if it is arranged in that order or not. So I will have to add one more condition, which is accounts east, newest person on the top. So I'll add one more condition telling, okay, do one thing. I will move this below because we want region to be on the second. The last one would be start date. Start date should be oldest to newest. So I will click OK this time. So here it is arranging who is the oldest person in east, who is the oldest person in north. Similarly, who is the oldest person in accounts, so on and so forth. But then this is not enough. End of the day, you need to show me a filtered data that these are some names. So if I have 4 regions and about 5 departments, then it's going to be like 4 5s are 20 people. I need 20 names out of it who are like oldest against that region, against that department, right? Oldest. Let's say our answer for this should be a yes or a no. Now this requires some bit of uh, formulation. Excel cannot do it by itself. It's only your logic. You asked me to sort it, I have sorted. But for you to filter it, you cannot just apply a filter and take the numbers out, right? So you need to create a custom function to figure out that, you know what, if the current row is not equal to this, because my data is already arranged. So I'm assuming that if this is not equal to this guy should be first rank. So I will tell, okay, please consider this. But if these two are same, this is not same, then pick this guy. But if these two are same and these two are same, ignore this guy. Let's try to do it in practical. Say if this department does not equal to this one, right? Current row's department name does not equal to a row above, right? Current row is row number 2, does not equal to row number 1. Then I will tell, yes, this is the oldest employee. If this time I need to check two conditions, which is, and department should be same, but region should be different in each case. Then I will say yes again. Otherwise, they are not oldest. This might be complex. We will definitely repeat it again. I hope the problem statement is clear by now, right? All I need to understand is one person oldest in each region. To do so, we created a custom sort, arranged our data department wise, region wise, and then start date wise. So what happens is each smallest number in that department comes on the top every time. With the help of this function, we try to understand who is that one person who is different from other. That's the simplest way to understand, and that's how we calculate. Now here we are telling if the department changes, by default that person is new. If the department does not change but the region changes, then that person is a yes. I will quickly copy this and apply it to all. And you get to see that what are the people or who these people are, why are they showing it, and you can observe that each department will have only one person, right? So you have accounts, you have 4, but they are split into east, north, southwest. Administration, again you have 4th, east, north, southwest. Customer support, since there was only one person, so it's picked up that person's name. Human resource, you have east, north, southwest. Marketing, you have east, north, southwest. Sales, you have east, north, southwest. Though there are so many people, it skipped all of them. There is absolutely zero sense of coding that you need. You need to know zero sense of practical knowledge or experience to it. It's all about how you write your case study, what your expectations are. To get to it, first we told that, okay, fine, your raw data is there. I will ensure that the first person is coming on the top every time. Okay, now if you have arranged it, how do you identify? I am telling department is not same. That means obviously a new department starts. So let's take another example. Ignore accounts here. I will take the next person, which is administration. So obviously here it changed from accounts to administration, and it is east. Doesn't matter which region it is, but because my data is sorted in a neat order, I will consider that he is the youngest guy. If you look at the numbers also, it is east administration, year is 97, then 98, 98, 2001. So obviously this is the first person. So that's the first condition, that if the department does not meet a department, then change. Now, the next concept was, the second and condition was, the department could be same, but the current row's region does not equal to the previous row. Then I will call it as yes. For rest of all, it is a no. So that's all we did, and we got the answer for all of them. Now, a little bit of exercise to you. I hope this sheet is available in front of you. I will request you to do it yourself for your convenience. I will put this formula into the comment box. But this time, I will want you to not rely or limit it identifying that person. Instead, add a 10% of the salary, whatever bonus that you have here, consider that plus salary. I hope I'm getting to it. So let's say that Milicia or Miss James is the oldest employee. I am telling that show me a column where her salary plus 10% of that bonus is shown in this column instead of a yes or a no. Formula is same, but there's some bit of logic that you will have to apply. So please help me figure it out how it has to be done. Try to run your brain. Meanwhile, if you have any questions for me to whatever has been discussed so far, I'll be happy to answer. There's a question for me. Can I use concatenate? Harshi, I'm not sure what do you want to concatenate. No, you can't. No, it's a number. So you need to add two numbers, not add two text. Can I use concatenate to get the total number, which is salary plus bonus? No, you cannot. If you use and, that will treat it as a text. Yeah, you need to use sum. Thanks for that, Harsh. Okay, once again, can you repeat the oldest concepts? Right, so let's try doing it from the beginning. I will, for now, delete all the levels and keep it, let's say, based on employee code. Right, so I have some random data here. I'm expected is that my data has some amount of departments, and I have these people divided into regions. So I will say show field list so that you can, I'm not sharing my screen, I believe. Yes, so your video is stuck. Thanks for that. Is equal to cell of salary plus cell of bonus. But yeah, so Revati tells the concept is equal to cell of salary plus cell of bonus. That's true, but I need to consider the situation that it should be the oldest employee. That's the only situation, Revati. The end objective is correct, but how do you arrive it is a question. Right, so for now, let's go back to the logic and tell if there are 9 people in accounts in East, only one person you need to identify who is oldest. If there are 10 people in North, you need to find only one person who is the oldest. Similarly for South and West and for the entire data. That means you need to arrange accounts and people coming in East and then their date of joining. How do we do that? First is you need to create a custom sort. Right, so how do we create a custom sort? First is select your data, go alt data sort. So you get the sort dialog box. For now it is an employee code, which I did a while ago. I don't want this. I want department to be sorted first so that account comes together, administration in the order. Then I will tell I want them to be arranged based on their region. This is the second sort. Third is I want the oldest person in that region, in that department to come on top. So I will say start date. So what is it is going to do? First, it will arrange department-wise values. So all accounts together. Then it will arrange all alphabets of region, which is A to Z. It's available here. Then it will go to dates. the oldest person to the really sorry, excuse me. I will say okay. My data is arranged. I will delete the function for now. Sorry. Am I connected? I mean, for some reason, I cannot see the. Sorry. Bad weather in Bangalore. Really sorry for it. Right. So now my data is arranged in an order that all accounts come in a row. Alright, so all accounts come in an order, then the region, then the dates. To begin with, I will tell if the department name is coming for the first time in a row. All right, so account is coming for the first time. My data is already sorted. So the smallest number comes on top. If the account name does not, sorry, the department name does not equal to the row above, then yes, it is the oldest person. Okay. Now, if I simply say no to all of them, what will happen is it will pick up only one person for each of them. Okay, I have just put enter here. If I say filter only yes, it will pick up only one person who comes on the top. If you observe, east comes on the top. That's why it is picked up only one. But that's not enough. I need the second condition where I can count the person on north as well. Right? So for north, this is the guy. For south, this is the guy. And then for west, this is the guy. Now to do that, I need to alter my formula. So to begin with, I will not use the first one. Instead, I will use this guy. Instead of immediately calling it as no, I will have to write one more function. Now think logically. It is department. I will have to use multiple conditions. So I will have to use and department, which is my current row, is equal to the row above, right? So it can be equal to this, but this current region does not equal to the region above. Then he's obviously the oldest person. Why? Because my numbers are already arranged in an ascending order. So I am done with the second condition because I created two ifs. So I will close the second if. Now you can observe that this is also showing as north. I will simply copy this and put it only to south. You can see this is also getting changed to yes. So that's the reason why we used two ifs. First one is only to call out the easily identified people wherever department changes. Second one is for those folks where the department is same, but the region is different. But remember, you need to add 3 sort values so that the smallest number can come on top. Otherwise, you will pick up only one person. That should not happen. Fair? So that's how it goes. And then we can simply filter out and tell the data that this is what it is. Now, instead of applying a filter, is it possible? Can I get this data here? Yes, it is quite very possible. All I need to do would be is update my range because the last column I added separately. I will have to go to the column and I tell, okay, fine. What happened? The data source are connected to a filter controls that are also connected to other pivots cannot be changed. Change first, disconnect the filter controls from pivot table. I know there is a slicer added. That's why it's creating an issue. Let me create a fresh pivot. I need to know the employee details who actually belong to a particular department, right? So this is something that we did not discuss. This does not look like easily readable. To arrange this in a readable way, you will have to go back and tell the system that, no, dear, please rearrange this and make it little more readable. Alt JYPT, right? So every time you see a number, there is a total. I will disable it. I will say, okay, grand total, please do not show for any of them. Subtotal, do not show for any of them. So now my data is arranged, but this time it is a hierarchy. Like if I click on employee ID, it hides the rest of the information. If I click on the plus, it shows the name, he is to the source, etc., etc. If I hide name, it hides the other part of it. If you want to enable all of it in one go, you can go to analyze and show all field items just by clicking on the plus or a minus as it is convenient to you. Okay, so now let's count the employees. By default, it is arranging names based on the first column, and the first person is arranged in ascending order. That's why you see that 0, 1 on the top and then 200 on the bottom. I don't want blanks to be visible here, so I will quickly hide them. But then I need to give this data to somebody, right? So what do I do? How do I filter out only those folks for which I have created a column? So I will drag this person to filters and I pick only folks where there is a yes. So it will show only those 21 names which are belonging to each department, right? So that's how we can create a filter and then applying a filter here and picking up those names. Let's say if your data is huge, you may be finding it difficult to apply filter within the hard data. That you can try to take help from pivot tables. These are again going to be very helpful. Now, who are the name who are not qualifying for a additional bonus or whatever? Filter out no. You get to see all the names. This will have all the names except those 21 names who are eligible for an incentive or an extra amount. Right. So I had put a requirement that, you know what, there is a yes. Can you please figure out and tell me, instead of this, I need to see 8,800 here. How can we do it? How can we do it that I don't want to see a yes or a no? Instead, I need to see 8,800 and maybe for this person 0. Or maybe only salary and no bonus. Get it? So this particular row should show something like 8,800. This guy should show only, it's 80,000 actually. So this guy is going to be 88,000. That's the difference, that this person has bonus included, this person has no bonus included. Give it a try. I mean, you just need to assume, if you're not in front of system, just give it a try and try to enforce yourself to an answer. The function is available. It was pasted in message as well, but if not, you can refer my screen and just tell me very simple stuff that I need to do here. That I will have the new column, what is the revised salary, which is including bonus. I don't want to see a yes or a no. Instead, I want to see two different values. How can I calculate? Please try. I mean, it's absolutely fine. If you're not correct, I'm here to repeat it. But please try. Some ifs. The suggestion is some ifs, but where do I apply some ifs, dear? You need to add the value in the formula, I think. Yeah, you are very close to the answer, Harsh. You're absolutely very close to the answer. Harshi, maybe the logic is correct. Some, but not ifs, but where? Where do I put that sum? I have two answers. I would appreciate if others can try. All you need to do is try, just try. It's absolutely fine if you're not exactly correct. Come on. No? There are only two people listening to me. If oldest is equal to yes, then cell of salary. Yeah, bingo. That's the correct answer, Revati. I appreciate that. Anybody else who wants to try? I have the answer from Revati. It's absolutely correct. I need some more. Please try. I have almost about 550 participants. Oh my God. Just because I ask question, everybody is logging out. No, that's not happening. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the place where we started. If some condition is true, you want a true condition. What should you do with it? Right? So there are two conditions where there is true, and there's one condition where it is false. If the department is not equal to department, then I'm telling salary plus bonus, right? Here again, if the department is same but region is different, then salary plus bonus. If not, all I'm trying to tell is, sorry, I will not give you any bonus, it's only salary. This is it. This is it, right? This person is not the oldest, so I will not give him any bonus. You will be having only salary. But for rest of all, it will be adding two values, which is this plus this. Where is it happening? It is happening in the first true condition that department is not equal to department, then salary plus bonus. Second true condition that department could be same but the region is different, then it is salary plus bonus. For rest of all, it is only salary, which is G2. This is all we did, right? This is all we did. Okay. Sir, can you repeat the oldest one because your voice is not clear? Zohair, it was a long process. Can you please be very specific which part of it I was not clear? My apologies for it though. Which part of oldest to newest you are not clear? I will be happy to repeat it again. Zohair, I would appreciate, can you be a little more specific? Okay, so salary part. So the previous function looked something like this, where we told that if department is not same, which is current row, which is F2 department, does not equal to F1, which is true in this case. This is the first guy as per my sort order, right? The sort that we did, it arranged departments, region, date. So obviously the smallest person in East came on top because the department is not different. We did the first easy thing to identify the top or the oldest person in that particular department itself. So we are not done with it. We did the second if to figure out within that department, same department, region is different. So the first person, whoever comes, we have given another yes, means he is the oldest. All I told was, can you replace this yes? I did not use the word replace on purpose. Two more conditions. What is that? If the person is oldest, then you say salary plus bonus, right? So we did it for somebody who's coming first in that department, not in region is irrespective. Then for somebody who is coming in the same department but different region, we will have to redo the same activity, which is salary plus bonus. And anybody who's not falling in these conditions, we tell him, okay, dear, you are unlucky. There is somebody who's joined before you, so you get only salary. So we complete the formula by telling, instead of a yes or a no, I tell the system, please convert the yes or a no to total of G2 plus I2, which is this, wherever yes was there, and wherever no was there, only G2, which is the salary. This is all that we did, how to figure out the oldest person and give some value to it. Previously, we had only a categorical variable where yes or a no was there. This time we converted a numerical variable, and you can just apply a pivot and tell that each person will get this much of salary this month. Okay. With this, I assume here that things are clear, but please let me know if you have any questions still, but otherwise the recording is still available. You can go back and refer them anytime to know a little more. Okay, so let's try to wind up one more concept of pivot tables, which is like helpful when you really don't have too much of time and you have bulk data. I mean, too many columns, too many rows available, and you don't really have time to create supporting columns. Like I have created a supporting column here, which is salary plus 10%. Then here I create another column to figure out some amount. Now, very similar to it, let's say that I have a salary. I need to calculate HRA. It's, let's say, is 5%. That means I'm going to maybe add. I want to deduct provident fund, which is equal to like 12%, assuming, let's say I want to deduct professional tax of, let's say, 2%. I want to deduct income tax. Let's assume it is a flat 7%. I know we are in India, we don't pay such less tax, we pay a little more than that. But let's go assuming. So there, if there is a salary of 100 rupees, I am going to give 5% of it, which is additional benefit. Let's say that's going to be HRA. I'm going to deduct a 12% of my salary, which is like 12 rupees. And then I'm going to charge 2% of my salary. And then I'm going to charge 7% of my tax. So this is going to be an addition. This is going to be a minus, 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 right? So is it possible for me to create these many columns here? Let's assume it is not. Why? Because you need to go back and rewrite each formula at a time consuming activity. But is there a way that I can calculate it without creating a column? I mean, I don't have to create this column called 10% bonus. Instead, the system can show me the value here itself directly. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, and you can summarize that data also. Basically, you need to, I can simply remove off the person level information and keep it limited to department. How to do it? All you need to do is you need to create a custom field. So for that, you need to go to pivot table analyze, click on calculated field, right? So here, let me begin with the first one. I'm telling, please calculate 5% of HRA. Right, so I will have to create a column which cannot have a space and should not have a number in it in the beginning. Try to avoid it. Then I have created a name called HRA. I am telling is your salary plus 5% is your HRA. So if you want to calculate it, I will have to use the salary column, use the multiplication symbol and press 10%, right? Or 0.1 will also work, or 10% will also work, either ways. And I click on OK. By default, you get to see that whatever the value of salary is there, 10% of it is shown here, right? So 10% of 72,000 is 7,200. I did not create any supporting column, right? Because we have too many examples. Let's make use of it and tell that, okay, I need to create another column called PF, which is 12%. How do I do it? Same process. Go to pivot table, analyze, field, calculated field. This time I will tell Provident Fund at 12%, right? So it is 12%. You can rename whatever you want to. So salary into 12%. I click OK. I get another column called PF of 12%. Let me go back and add professional tax. I will say, okay, please calculate a field called professional tax, which is at 2%. How do I do it? I say salary into 2% and I click OK. I got the professional tax. If I try to add more columns, this data will be overwritten. So I will move this to little the right side. I need to know income tax. I will go to professional, the same process again, calculated field. Income tax was of 7%. So I will say income tax at 7%. So salary into 7%. And I click OK. So I got the attribute wise understanding of each employee. Now, because this is summarized by employee, I can leave it as is. If I want to give it to my HR directly, they can refer to it. But if I want to reduce it and shrink it, let's say I want to look at department wise, not by name, not by employee ID, not by region. Instead, all I need to know is, can you please show me department wise information, right? So very beautifully it had done the calculation and you have the answers available on your screen. Can I do a sub of it? Basically, I want the region below the department name. Is that possible? Yeah, simply drag and drop. You get to see each department against that region, what is the salary that you are dividing, and that is divided into certain aspect attributes. So that's the beauty of this particular option called calculated field, which is going to work like magic. So you don't really have to invest time in creating more columns in your raw data, right? Absolutely not required. You can do all of it in one go. Now if you want to calculate total tax, all you need to do would be is repeat the same cycle of information, which is going to be salary plus HRA minus this, minus this, minus this. So I need to repeat all the functions. Now if you want to know what are the existing functions that are being added, just click on this arrow and say list the formula. You'll get a new sheet which will have all the calculations available, right? So all I need to do would be is salary plus HRA, close the bracket, and then say minus this, and minus this. Then you get to see total column in the formula. I mean, that I'm leaving it to you, because if I do everything, the learning is very limited. You need to try something on your own. All you need to do would be is create a fifth column as total, repeat the same formulas, but into brackets, because there is a multiplication. So minus plus will not work. Multiplication will happen first. So create a bracket, then add, then create another bracket minus, then create another bracket minus. and then you label it as total salary. You get to see the final amount. That was like a lot of information for today. I would want to leave the session to you guys. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we are good to go for the day. There are 4 minutes. I will want to utilize it for your questions. Please go ahead and ask if you have any. So just a hint of what are we going to talk about tomorrow. We'll try to talk about some bit of automation within Excel, which will go on for a little longer time. But I would appreciate if you are available along with systems so that you can practice it as we discuss, because macro is like a huge topic and it cannot be covered overnight. We'll try to cover the basic concept at a very bird's eye view. But like I said, that it's more knowledgeable if you try to practice along with me. So there's a question: when will the practical exam be? Once the sessions are completed, I think your our team will let you know the assignments. These will be available within the portal. They'll let you know when to answer them. Okay, I keep the window open for questions. Please let me know if you have anything. I'm available here. There's one question like the functions are very difficult to memorize. How do I do it? Now, the very easy way to remember this stuff is try to break your problem statement in very easily writable English language. That's the easiest way how you can write any function, right? You first try to summarize your problem in understandable English. I'm pretty confident you will find the related solutions very easy. That's the only way how you can get to the real functions. So somebody is concerned about, is there a exam or is there exam for the certificate? There will be
there is no any examination for certification. 60% attendance is mandatory only.
Okay, yeah, and that's the answer for your thing. But yeah, assignments will be available. Am I right, Amar? Assignment
Yes, assignment will be there. Once you're done with the agenda, then we'll upload the assignment in the LMS.
Yeah, exactly. Right, so there is another question, Shreyas. Elaborate more about tomorrow's session. Shall we log in by 2 devices? Yeah, I think that's device. Yeah, it is better if you log in one from your laptop and one from your phone for audio, and you can do it together if your system does not support voice. If your system support voice, that should be enough. Tomorrow's session is going to be about macros. I cannot elaborate the topic itself. That's going to take a lot of time. Okay, that's it from me, folks. It was a wonderful session, a lot of knowledge transfer. We can get back tomorrow again at 7 and discuss a lot more about this wonderful tool called Excel. And that's it from me. Have a lovely evening. We connect tomorrow at 7. Have a lovely evening, folks. Bye.